And a number of people participated in that, including Brian. Padma Venagopal and Dom Terranova were participants in that. And I wouldn't want to leave out, of course, Steve D'Onofrio, who was instrumental in making all of this come together, both in terms of the building and in terms of the equipment. And Peter played a part in all of this and helping out as needed when we needed some extra hands and to do some things. The town's been very supportive, of course, in this activity, and they've really been encouraging us. And specifically, the town IT department has been very helpful, very supportive in making sure we got what we needed. We have the appropriate connections with the town networks and helped us with an expeditious transition from the high school to here. We had a wonderful architect, Dennis Colwell, who helped design our space. We had a great construction firm, Nash Contracting, Peter Nash, and especially Mark Landry, who was the on-site supervisor of the activities going on here. He was here pretty much night and day, making sure everything went right. We also had help from Tom Zarico. Some of you may know Tom. He's a local developer who helped us kind of our go-between, making sure everything was being taken care of, helping to answer questions and making sure things were moving along and just being our interface with the contractor and the tradespeople that were doing the work. So that was great. We got some really strong support from some of the vendors in our area. A&M Appliance gave us a real good break on the appliances we have in our kitchen. And Jackson Lumber was particularly helpful in giving us some real benefits on some of the materials that we used in this. And our neighbors were very, very tolerant as we were doing all of this. Bill Gordon, who you may know, who's next door, and the salon that's downstairs. So that all worked out very well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to some of those folks and just acknowledge their participation in getting us here where we are today. This is just a wonderful opportunity for us, and I know we're going to make such great use of this facility. So we hope you all keep coming back and using it every chance you get, coming and participating with it, and I know that you will. So now, turn it over to
Brian Fraser.
Brian, and let him take it from here, right? Yeah. Brian, what's his name, right?
I'm going to try and do this sitting down this year. I tend to stand and talk at the same time. I'll start off, again, welcome, thank you. Welcome to the new facility. This has been a long time coming. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get through the evening. But huge achievement for the town, and we're excited about it. It's going to be such a great resource in both media production, but also just as a community resource, meeting space, hopefully a destination location where people are going to, come from the schools, stop in on the way home from work. It's an exciting place. It's already shown its colors in the few months that we've been here already. A lot of stop-in traffic just by having a sandwich board sign outside. So it's going to be an exciting time for us. We just talked about the building, people involved in the building. I just want to highlight the year for staff. We have myself, the executive director. Bill Robert is our operations coordinator who deals with a lot of the equipment. He's here full-time on staff. Susan Martin is our outreach coordinator, and she's knee-deep in just about everything with membership and production. Then Ray De Silva is our programming coordinator, and he does a lot of the scheduling and editing and training workshops along those things. And that's your full-time staff here on a daily basis. We typically spread out the schedules as much as we can. During this whole business building process, we compressed our schedule because it was hard to extend our hours and have the staff spread out and communicating all the time and bouncing off a lot of the different responsibilities during the building construction. We are eagerly approaching the part where we can kind of spread out and start being open until 9 o'clock at night on those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays again. Get our Saturday schedule back up and running, so we're eager for that. Saturdays will probably come back in September, be my guess. But as always, we're always available on appointment basis. So if there's a production that needs to happen over the weekend or at night, we definitely will accommodate whatever production needs are. That's the full-time staff. Contractors, so one of the other responsibilities we have is televising the meetings at Town Hall, at the school building, whether it's planning, zoning, selectmen, the school department. We have we call them contractors, they're part-time employees, but I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we had Chris Daniels, who was a student through the North Andover High School for years. As he reached out into the working world, he became a contractor for us to televise those meetings. He's still off at college at this point, so we have him on a limited basis. Ben Simmers has been doing the bulk of the meetings, and Casey Dalke was another student that came on board, and as he graduated, he started helping out on the meetings. Seems like a invisible job, but honestly, that's one of the more important roles here is covering those meetings. So it's important to mention those guys, and we're always looking for people that are interested in doing that. Interns over the past year, we had Josh Sullivan, Alexa DeFilippio, I'm sorry about that, Mike Cashman, and Casey Dalke spent a good amount of time as an intern. And I have Carly Jones, who's in this room. You can wave to us. So she's our current intern right now. And we have a few more coming in this summer, so we're excited about that. So we do try and work with the internships as much as possible. We've had them from Fitchburg State, we've had them from Merrimack College, we've had them at the technical high school, we've had some at some of the institutions after school, late school, what do you call it, evening school interns that will come to. Again, trying to reach into the community and be an asset to whatever programs we can be. A lot of job skills to be learned here, so we try and entertain those as much as we can. Through the building process, I have to say, my job description changed, as far as running out and doing marketing and being involved in production. I became a project manager, and definitely got involved in a lot of stuff that was above and beyond my job description. Bill Robert was tasked to really design a lot of the production equipment. So his major role during this whole process was designing and outfitting the control room, the master control, and making all the buttons do what they need to do. And so I want to make sure that everybody realizes that that was his role over this last year and a half. I do want to really point out specifically both Susan and Ray. While Bill and I were tied up with the building for the last year to 2 years, they ran the business of what we do and kept it growing and kept it going strong. And I've said it to them a few times, but it's probably the most important thing that happened was that they hunkered down. They were both young employees, a year or two into their employment here. And I pride myself on knowing the membership when they come in. I would usually be the one that drew members in and signed them up and whatnot. and keeping my finger on the pulse of everything. And as we got a year into this, I'm seeing new faces in the studio. And, I could say hi, I could bump into them or whatnot, but they were locked in members that just were doing new things. And to see that with such a new staff, it was great. They really raised the bar. And I think, I just have to say that's one of the most impressive things is it just really just kept flowing, and they really, please thank them when you see them. Ray's, even tonight, we had a planning board meeting that popped up, so he had to jump out and go cover the meeting because our contractors weren't available. And so please, if you do see them again tonight, please thank them. And it's been a wonderful experience for all of us and for the town. That's it for staff. So we move on to our business items. Annually, we do a youth meeting prior to the annual meeting. There was a time where we had everybody vote, and then there was a changeover where only over 18 could vote. So we started to establish this youth meeting to make sure that the voices were heard. We had that, which didn't have a huge turnout this year, but I just want to announce, so Caitlin Parks is their appointee to come and represent, and she wasn't available for this evening. But I want to just kind of highlight some of the things that they brought up for the year that they want to look forward to now that we're in a new space and everybody's excited to do new production in all the different areas. More youth workshops, game shows, cooking shows, we'll get to that. Stop motion, which they do, but they want to see more of it, which is great. Fake news, that seems to be the trend at the moment. So podcasting has made a resurgence. I don't know if anybody's noticing that, but podcasting was this thing that came out of nowhere and then kind of went away, and now it seems within the last year or two it's really come back and is becoming a pretty streamlined industry. Coding classes. More workshops for younger kids specifically. Quarterly, they want to get into meeting, instead of doing the annual meeting, they want to do quarterly meetings as a youth group, which I think is fantastic. And it might just be because it's pizza and they know that they can come here and get pizza, and ice cream socials. But I think we can accommodate that. Movie nights, now that we have a bigger studio that, again, if you go toward the other, you think back to the other studio, we had very limited space. So the studio also doubled as our conference room, also doubled as our editing suites, also doubled as lots of things. So now we can have a movie night and still have a board meeting in the other room, or people could be editing in the other room and still have a movie night in here. So again, that just opens the door to more functional uses of what North Andover CAM is. They want to make sure that we're utilizing the North Andover High School studio space, which this might be a good time to mention. We've said this at all the other annual meetings. When we set out to move to a bigger facility that would allow us to grow, we never wanted to close down the other studio. We knew we were going to keep that stuff in place. It is all in place. It's a giant mess at the moment. They didn't need the studio for the last semester or trimester of the high school year, so it allowed us to come over here, get everything all nice and neat. And there's a lot of wires dangling and a lot of dust in the room. But as soon as we're settled here, we're going to go back and make sure that by the summer everything's cleaned up. But that is a fully functional studio. We will make sure it meets the needs of the curriculum as it goes forward. And there'll always be a partnership there. We'll try and run after-school workshops there. If it benefits the high school the kids to come here, great. But if it's easier to keep those workshops going, we'll set up office hours over there after school, at least once a week. Workshops at the library. This is more stuff from the youth, and there's recognition. They like recognition. Early recognition. A large youth ranking volunteer chart somewhere in this facility so that they can see who's got the most youth hours, volunteer hours as they move. So I'm involved in Scouts, and that generates a little competition within the kids to volunteer. So I think we may latch onto that idea. So we'll have some progress charts up on the wall to see if we can generate more volunteer opportunities for the youth. So that's kind of the output from that meeting. So I just wanted to update the membership with that. And now we're on to our general operation. Any quick comments before I keep going? All right. All right. So each year we try and report on membership and kind of the new things that happen throughout the year. I'm going to call it the membership report. Thank you, Bill. What we're going to do, the annual report's available online. We post the whole report online. We're trying to save trees so that we're not printing out multiple copies anymore. So I want to take just a brief minute to explain just a quick change in what we're going to do going forward. Prior years, we used to lump a lot of the adults into one number, whether it was an organization member or a business member. It showed up as a general membership because a few different reasons, but you can have multiple members for an organization. So just tracking the organizations didn't show you how many members were on board. So just kind of a housekeeping note, going forward, we're going to break out the individual organization and business memberships and have them be their own category per person, just so that when we look at our fun pie chart here, it'll actually kind of show the demographic of if people joined through an organization like a merchants association or a music association. That's going to be another pie slice. So if we can just move forward to the next slide for the new. Is this it? Out of towns, yeah. Okay, so this is just the future way we're going to report, and it just seems like extra time that I'm wasting right now. But I just want, kind of full disclosure how we're going to change it. It's important that I make sure that you guys know that we're not just going to put the right, we're going to report things in a certain way that's going to make it look good each time. I just wanted to make sure that you saw the old version, how this year looked in the old way of reporting it, and how this year looks in the new way of reporting it. So those two graphs will be in that report this year. And it's the total number is the same, so we know the math checks out. But we're supporting still in that 200 total count range for memberships. And it is broken out between adults, youth, senior citizens, high school students, and teachers. We're probably going to back off tracking teachers individually, and we'll just lump them in with individual members. Before, when we were at the high school, we wanted to stay in that curriculum base, how many teachers are using us. We can still track that on our own metric. We are going to track the high school students for a while just to see what our drop-off is. So we know that there's going to be a drop-off because we're moving out of the high school. We have workshops, we have kids that are interested in programming, but we would always get, Mike always smiles at this when I say it, but like the week before finals come in, we get a rash of kids, seniors, juniors, that come in and want to do a final project on video and blah, 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 and they said, can we use your studio, can you do it? And they join, they go through the course they need to do, they finish their project, and then they graduate. So like they jump on our books and then off our books right away, but we still account for those. But if we have, what do we have, 50 high school students, maybe 20 of those are those kids. So we know that those kids are probably going to drop off because we're not as convenient, and because they didn't really think their way through it. It was like somebody said, oh, go down the hall to Cam and you can do this great project, and they do it. So we may still get some of those, but we're guessing we're going to see a little bit of. So we'll track it for a little while, and then we'll just lump them into youth, and then and then we'll just track our youth numbers. So that'll be the only change going forward. The main chart that I like to put forward is the total number of members versus the total number of active members. Who's, it's nice to have a 200 member count and whatnot, but who's actually doing stuff? Who's checking out gear? Who's editing and whatnot? So you can see by the chart, we had a little dip in, was it 2015? We're down to 167 in total members. We tracked right back up from 16, 17, 18 to 186, 202, and now we're back to 211 on the books. And it's been pretty steady with the volunteers. We're in that 70 range for active members volunteering. So what happens there, people will join because they're interested, find out they don't have time, and then within a year they kind of fall off the books, and we still mail them and we still reach out to them occasionally, but people love what they see. Sometimes life is too busy and they don't get on board. We are talking about potentially doing a contributing membership again, because our membership funds, if you remember from last annual meeting, now contribute to a scholarship fund. So we may do a scholarship type, or a contributing type membership, and we'll track that separately so that we're not just showing a giant number. We want to see those active volunteers. Pleasantly surprised. Yes, I saw a lot of new faces, but as I was busy with the building and whatnot, I didn't have my hands in every production. I didn't have, I might have been working from the home office to spread out more. In the back of my head, I thought, maybe numbers are down and whatnot. So as we tracked everything through, it's nice to see the steady pace on the volunteers. And again, credit Susan and Ray on keeping everybody involved, which is great. So if we can move on to the next slide real quick. New organizations for the year. The Boosters group for sports, they officially joined. We got involved with the road race. So we supply internet to them and whatnot. So, and there's a lot of good opportunity for all the parades and whatnot. So we're eager to kind of harness that relationship more. Commission on Ability Assistance has been running a show very steadily and bringing in a variety of guests, which is fantastic. We almost had Seth Moulton in the studio this weekend until he decided to run for president. So his attention got diverted. But thank you for all you're doing there. Sustainability Committee is another organization. Again, these are nonprofit organizations. If we go to the next one, we've had a good uptick in businesses. If I remember correctly, we have the business one coming up. We do have a for-profit business membership set up now. And this year we had Blue Dog, Barnes Karate Studio, Cody and Company, and the Maker Mill. Maker Mill had a ton of potential. We synced up on a workshop this past summer, and it sounded like we were going to end up doing some workshops over there, kind of as freelancers, and in a joint effort. And I understand they've closed recently, so there was an interesting relationship, and it looked like there was going to be a lot of potential there. So. There's going to be a new gaming complex downstairs, which had some of the services that the Maker Mill had with joint computing and whatnot. So we have great partners coming in the building here. We'll get into that a little bit. And then Blue Dog's been very active, and they're running also the presidents of the Merchants Association too. Again, these are new businesses and new organizations that joined this year. We do have other, there's many others that you saw that are on the roster, but these are the ones that joined in this past year of 2018. What's my next slide? Workshops. Just wanted to highlight, this will be in the report online, but a lot of different opportunities, production workshops, stop motion. We've been doing a lot more open house type workshops where it's just open to the community. Some, how to use your smartphone, that type of thing, just to get people in the door. Even this is, even at the other studio, Get the community engaged in what we have knowledge in, just technology. Let's get people wrapped around the technology that's around them every day. So these are a list of the workshops we have done in the past. Producers is our next one. We do like to highlight these, and what it does is it shows you the different types of producers that are in charge of the content that's out there. Imported content is the green. So again, imported means somebody from another town produces something and then sends it over, gets it sponsored, or or it could be something that's just not produced within the membership. It could be a resident that just sends us something, that sort of thing. Member produced, municipal broadcasting, most of that is the meetings or any official announcements from town officials. Cam produced is for the most of that stuff might be the journal, and anything we kind of spearhead, and there's a few things we'll do that's kind of lost leader. Let's show what people show the community what can happen. See if anything bites, and then we move on to other ideas, that type of thing. And then the school system. The school system did a few things with one of the superintendents who was focusing on student services. So they did a lot of shows along those lines last year. All right. So that's kind of the recap. Do I have one more slide? No, the next slide is financial. We'll get to the financials, correct? Yep. Okay. So we can get to that when we get to our treasurer's report. So the new building, we are here. We're very excited. Let me get to some other notes. Kind of went over a little bit about what's here in the new building. Obviously more space. We were in 1,400 square feet in the old location. 400 square feet of that was hallway, bathroom, and foyer. Out of the remaining 1,000 square feet, 70% of that could get checked out by membership, being the studio and the control room and all that stuff. So that left 300 square feet to run the business on a daily basis. We were limited, our growth was limited in the other space, and that was the case that I brought early on. I came on board in 2008, and after a few years of operating, realized, there's a limit to what you could do there. Having 4 edit bays in the studio, that alone was limiting in growth, because you only have so many hours to schedule things in the day. More so than that, you only have so many free hours of your community members that could commit to working in the studio. So yeah, there's a 24-hour day, but really most people have maybe an extra hour or an extra half hour in between going to work and kids and sports and all that kind of stuff. So we needed to be a lot more flexible. If you have 4 edit bays in the studio, maybe we could get one running while there was a show happening, right? Because the camera would be bumped up against the other 3, and you just couldn't operate, you couldn't do 2 things at once. Again, I talked about our meeting space was in the studio. So that we couldn't have a board meeting in the facility if it was during the day or during the community hours. So now board meetings can happen, or community producer meetings can happen. They can go produce a show in the conference room while there's a production going on in here. And 3 people could be editing out in the edit bays. So a lot of things can happen simultaneously, less restrictions on use, more ability to keep people excited about their projects and moving forward. That alone should enable growth and just excitement going forward. We grabbed your food in our kitchen area. It's specifically a kitchen set. We designed it that way so that it can accommodate cameras, both above and from the sides. Lighting, broadcast lighting will be in place shortly so that it'll be professionally lit. And it should, for the most part, be, turn the lights on, turn the cameras on, and just cook and talk. So we're trying to make things as easy as possible. We had some cooking shows years ago. We had to go up into the high school. We got to use their room, but it's lugging gear back and forth, and a show or two, and then people would get tired of it, and then move on. So ease of use, professional look, capabilities, the ovens, the microwaves, the cooktop, all that stuff. So we're excited. We'll have kids cooking shows, adult cooking shows, adult and kid workshops, cooking workshops. It can be a community meeting space. I've had the Triad group here. I've had the PTO presidents here. Who else? The festival committees met here. We can just support so much more in the space and still provide refreshments or whatnot while the rest of the business is still going on. Being centrally located downtown is fantastic. We've already had walk-in traffic. Even somebody who was on a board of a New Hampshire TV station 20 years ago hasn't been involved in the industry at all. Saw the sign, stopped, came in. We've had 2 or 3 people walking back and forth from lunch, just come in and check it out. So the opportunity here is exciting, very exciting. One more, let's see what else. State-of-the-art equipment, everything's HD now, soup to nuts. So before we had our playback system was still standard def, so that meant we had to shoot fantastic quality programming, and then by the time it had to finish within our building, it had to still go down to standard def. So there's a compromise there. Right now, everything is shot nicely, finished nicely. It's only transcoded once. We don't have to do multiple things to it, which again, time saver, and everybody's final product will look as good as it did when they finished working on it. We want people to be excited about their content, and for somebody to produce it, craft it, and it looks crystal clear, and then the end result, it ends up being less than that. It's not exciting for people. We'll need everybody's help because we still go out onto cable. Comcast and Verizon don't want us to go on HD. We did negotiate with the town, through the town, that on Verizon we'll be receiving an HD channel. So our content will be going out on HD, and that hopefully will bring a lot of joy to the members who produce quality shows that look great. That's the one handcuff that cable access has always had, and we've broken that barrier to have an HD channel now, which is exciting.
Tell them how many square feet we have now.
So we are at 1,400 square feet in the old place. We are at 4,200 square feet within this facility, and
3 times.
yeah, 3 times the size, and it's enough. We filled it up fast, and we still might wish we had a little bit more, but it's no. We're going to utilize. I already see little nooks and corners where I can, we can craft some other workstations or whatnot, and we'll get them all filled. All right. We have monitors throughout the building. You've seen they're all assignable, so people can monitor the functions that go on in here. So if there's a TV shoot going on in here, we can have it out on the reception area so that people can see some of the action, because when you're in here, you're in a closed box, nobody can see what's going on. So we thought that was important to keep the outside world, even if they're just passing in, the mailman, whoever, just to be able to see what's going on throughout the building if we need to. So that's another added benefit to being the way it's set up. Equipment, playback system, upgraded kitchen set. I think that covers everything. We have in the back corner, if you've noticed, there was an enclosed edit suite. And as we grow and the industry changes, which we'll get into a minute, we can monetize that room. It's a functioning edit suite. If you went into Boston and had to rent an edit suite, you'd see something similar to this. So we're going to put a couch in there. We're going to have, phones accessible to producers and whatnot. Typically, in those environments, you might have an editor and a producer in the room at the same time. So the producer's just looking up at the big monitor and just kind of instructing the editor what to do. That's why it's designed that way. That's typically what the production houses look like. So additional funding in the future, we should be able to monetize that room over time, that type of thing. And I think, any questions on the building? All right. Pardon me if I go through my analog notes here. So future workshops being here, really pushing, again, those open community, open house type workshops. And this will be in the next month starting in the next month into the summer. Parental controls on cell phones, Xboxes, tablets, making sure that people know, because once I started digging into it, it's like an hour's worth of work. I mean, there's so many layers of people's cell phones and how to do it. So if you help families keep control of the content for their youth. Monthly Photoshop and video editing workshops, photography workshops. PTO, we were meeting with the PTO the other day. They talked about just having parent production workshops so that they can get more parents trained so that they can cover events in the schools, because there's school assemblies during the day. The public isn't invited, but you can get the content. And I've pushed this for years. They just came up with the idea of just saying, hey, just do a Atkinson parent, training session, or and just make it real school specific so that we can get their attention a little bit better. So we're going to try and reach out that way. Cooking show classes, cooking classes. We can have guest cooking people in here and just teach people how to cook. So it's not, again, we got to start thinking more outside the box, not just production, not just video, although that is our core mission. But we have a great facility here that can just be, kind of the community getting together and interacting with each other. So those should be exciting. Podcasting, again, it's a resurgence to that. We'll do a lot more podcasting workshops. And again, even just smartphone utilization is just, yes, they are, for talking on the phone, but the maps, the streaming ability in your home, that type of thing. A lot of people don't know how much kind of accessibility they have with the device in their pocket. So we want to make sure that people are getting the best bang for the buck on something that they already have. So as far as the building, we're very excited. Again, since being here in 2008, really just seeing that limited space, very excited, very ambitious to just get back to, now that we've spent 2 years dealing with the building, let's get back to producing video and content and building community spirit throughout the town. I mean, people have asked, what's a tagline? We're trying to look at different marketing opportunities. And yeah, it's media, but really, what do? We're down on the common. We're out and about. We're mixing businesses with events and whatnot. The core of it, it's building and channeling community spirit. So the more we can get involved with all the different groups, I think that's our role. Channel that community spirit, get everybody excited to communicate and talk with each other, and inform each other, whether it's through media or through hanging out here and just doing focus groups and whatnot. That's what we're here for. I'm excited, and I can't wait to get started. It's been great. Then the one, I'm just going to end on this real quick, and we'll talk about good stuff too, but so all that excitement going into this building, we saved up for years for this. It's a $600,000 plus project that we had to save up for over the years. It's exciting. It's going to be one of the biggest assets in town to help many organizations. And now that we're finally here, after how long have I been here? 10 years, 11 years? The FCC is kind of stirring the pot on how we get our funding. So just quick recap, our funding comes basically from the cable bills. The municipalities negotiate with the cable companies on doing services in town, their type of company has to use the right of way, the town's right of way to produce their product. So just because of that circumstance, Cable Act of 1984 put this in place so that funding that is allocated because of that use, is that right-of-way use, comes right back into what we are. So we all see our cable bills and we all see those annoying charges at the end. One of those charges, if it's on your bill at all, is what comes back to us. So 4% of the revenue of the cable companies comes right back to us. That's why it's important that whatever we do with that funding, it's all for the community. Because if this organization didn't exist, they would still charge you the same amount of money, but it's going in their pocket, not the community's pocket. So that's why it's exciting for what we do. We take that and we make as many opportunities for the community as possible. What's going on right now is the FCC is trying to rewrite the rules on that legislation. And we're in kind of a holding phase now. We talked about this last year at the annual meeting, and I've sent out emails since. They're trying to make sure that they're trying to rewrite the rules in a way that says that any in-kind contributions can then be monetized and subtracted from that 4% that we're getting. So if we're getting, just a round number, if we're getting $100,000 and they decide to monetize every donation or everything that is given to the town in these agreements, like we have 3 channels, right? Public, education, and government. They don't charge us for that, and they charge other companies for that. So if they decide to monetize that and make it a rental fee, then that rental fee then comes out of what our revenue is. So, and that's just like pulling the rug out from underneath the contracts and making it okay. So the contracts exist, but then they're just saying, well, what about these in-kind donations, blah, 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 blah. That's a big deal. So that could be, we don't know what that number is because we don't know what the market value is. That could be, 30% of our revenue. It could be 70% of our revenue, depending on how much they just put a metric on that. So the tail of the tape is the FCC put out their language. They asked for comments. We all sent comments. The legislators sent comments. Your selectmen sent comments in. The state reps sent comments in. They very good response from all our legislators here in town. Ed Markey at the state level, federal level, is kind of one of the biggest proponents to support us, and he was involved in the first Cable Act of 1984. So in a month ago, I went to a roundtable meeting with him in Boston at the Federal Building, and we just kind of roundtabled it, got all the information out there. He assigned an aide to our cause with the FCC, and did a press conference on the topic, and is working to make sure that Massachusetts is kind of the front runner on leading the charge against the FCC as far as these rule changes. So the FCC put the comments out, received comments, and then reviewed them, and then there was a response period that ended, and now it goes into the FCC to actually make the decision on it. Our industry is fully expecting that the FCC is going to pass this and accept the new language. It's going to undercut us. But we've laid the groundwork for kind of the legal battle. So all the language is in there, and the hope and the understanding is that the rules will stay until the legal battles are done. So everything stays in place as is until the legal judgment comes forward. So we're at the mercy at the minute. Now the government shut down for a while, so that kind of helped us because the FCC wasn't working. But what that means for us long term, and it's always been there. We've, as a nonprofit, we've been very fortunate. Nonprofit organizations don't have 10-year contracts for funding. They have to get grants. They get, there's a lot. So we've had that luxury for years. we have to start thinking more like a regular nonprofit now. We have to look to diversify our funding. We have to look for other parts of our mission. So the core of our mission is always going to be for the community, but there's going to be an element where, okay, so now we're going to seek more advertising. I've had the luxury of, we want to support the community. We want to help the businesses and the merchants and whatnot have ads on our channel and whatnot. But in the past, it hasn't been a funding need for us. And so I haven't had the ability to like prioritize it as that allocation of time. But we're gonna see that we're gonna start to need a lot more of that alternate funding. So whether it's producing commercials for businesses as a side business, transferring home movies. I'm trying to work with the school department on how do we manage some of the technical end of what goes on in the school systems. So my job, I say I get to, after the annual meeting, I get to go back to like producing video. But there's a lot of that administration stuff going on right now and a lot of forward thinking on what we want to do. Having this facility opens up the door for a lot of opportunities and a lot of professional opportunities and resources for us. So I mentioned this FCC thing here. I did it last year too. When the time comes, we need everybody's support. Write letters, reach out to all the congressmen and the legislators and whatnot. Again, the town's been very supportive and very active when we've called on it. But at the FCC level, they deal with 50 states. Massachusetts is very fortunate. We have an access center like this in just about every town. I'd count on one hand how many states have that. So when you're dealing with the FCC, when 5 of their 50 states are whining, that's not going to move the needle that much. So Senator Markey said Massachusetts has to take the lead here, and start getting all those states that lost community television, or isn't as interested or whatnot, get them rallied, So we're going to start in New England, and I've kind of been appointed as to help put a documentary together. So I'm trying to lead Mass Access in doing that. Get the word out, get everybody mobilized, and try and move the FCC. So while they're doing their legal battle, we can get everybody more riled up throughout the country. So it's a big task at hand. It's daunting, but again, nonprofits survive, on grants and other revenue and whatnot. So not scared at the moment, but daunting, very daunting. So we have this great facility, and we have all the tools we need to keep things moving. And I think that's my list of things that I'd like to talk about, but I can entertain any questions before we get into treasurer's report and elections or anything like that.
I think we're good.
Yeah?
Why don't we just quickly do the treasurer's report?
Okay. Okay. Treasurer's report. Our treasurer, Steve Ventry, couldn't be here. He had another annual commitment, so I will take that role, and I think it's up here. So funding support, again, it'll be in the pocket online, but majority of our funding comes from Comcast and Verizon through how I said. We get both operating money and we get capital grants. So what we have here is Comcast. We had 225,000 and change that came in. So Comcast has more of the market share here in town. So there's more Comcast subscribers in town than Verizon subscribers. Verizon came in 163,000. And then we did receive capital funds from both Comcast and Verizon for years. Verizon had, in the first round of the contract, we had 3 disbursements from Verizon. So if you've been at the last couple of annual meetings, you haven't seen capital distributions from Verizon. Now both of the companies are on quarterly disbursements on capital. So in the past year, we received 25,000, 636,000 from Comcast, and 18,000 from Verizon. And then in just to show you the realm of how much other revenue we generate, whether it's membership fees or interest or advertising money from, or sponsorship money from local businesses. 4,000 or almost 5,000 of our $437,000 in revenue, only 5,000 of it comes from our immediate efforts here. So that's a big change that we have to, if you're diversifying funding, it's like a big ship. It's going to take a long time to kind of change course, but we have to kind of do it in as speedy a fashion as possible because the delta there is so great. So that's just a snapshot. So then the total expenses on the year, for $420,000 of operating, mostly operating, and some small capital funds on that. So that's the year. That sans the building. The building had been board designated funds, and like I said, so construction was about $400,000. Equipment was about $200,000 worth of brand new equipment that came in here. Just a quick side note on the lights here, they're all LED, whereas the old studio was all quartz. So we received, or in the middle of receiving, a rebate of $23,000 from National Grid on the lighting alone. So we were able to leverage some of the energy savings because we went with the LED lighting, which is fully functional and it's fantastic. It gives us all kinds of colors and whatnot. So it's not a step down, it's a step up from what we had before. And that is the treasurer's report in a nutshell.
Okay. One of the required tasks of our annual meeting is to elect one of our directors. Just to remind you all, the North Andover CAM has a board of 5 members, 2 of whom are appointed. I'm appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and Mike Grant is appointed by the school superintendent as representatives from those 2 groups. 3 of the members, however, are elected by you, the members of North Andover CAM. This year, the person whose slot is up for election is Steve Ventry, who has served for 3 years in that position. And we have prevailed upon Steve to stick with us for another 3 years because we're right in the middle of a lot of financial dealings, and he's been our treasurer and has been integral to both the finances associated with this facility as well as Brian just mentioned, some of the new initiatives that we're looking at in terms of other approaches to finances and funding. So I would entertain someone nominating Steve Ventry for the board.
And we do have a roll-in from Steve to show his commitment for being. He wasn't able to be here tonight, but we do have a message from Steve too.
Hi, my name is Steve Ventry. I'm a commercial loan officer here at the Lowell 5 in North Andover and also a North Andover resident. It's been my pleasure to serve as the treasurer for the last several terms with the North Andover CAM, and I'm honored to be considered for another term here as treasurer and to oversee the financial completion of the building. It's been a great experience. It's a great facility, and happy to look forward to serving in the future. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of Steve Ventry as a board member, please say aye. Aye. Thank you so much. Just a couple of notes before I turn it back over to Brian. First is, I can't, we need to do a big shout out to Amici's, right, who gave us all the food for our event tonight. So please, if you need a pizza, go to Amici's. All the food there is very, very good, so.
I did mean to slip Amici's into my I ended up talking so much off the slip here. Normally we go with a brand new business in town for the annual meeting, and they donate dinner. Amici's did donate the dinner, and we chose Amici's and reached out to Amici's specifically because of the gas crisis. They are not a new business in town, but they were moving at the time, and they got hit hard, and they were down for quite a long time because they were moving right into the heart of it all. So again, I do big reach out to Amici's.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, you don't see it now, but you'll see it soon. We're going to have some nice signage on the front of this building in the very near future that will show people that North Andover CAM is located here. Brian has been working very hard on some really nice, fairly large signs that'll be on 2 of the facing walls on the building. So you'll be seeing that soon.
Yep, within 2 weeks.
Now people will know where we are, and they can, as Brian says, come in, check us out, see what we're doing here, and hopefully get involved. So that's it.
Out of all the juggling, that was the one thing that took a bath. But Don from Don Scientech is helping out, and we should have that out in 2 weeks. So we're excited about that.
So, awards?
What do I have here? So are we on our awards?
Yes.
Yes, we did our voting. Fantastic. Okay, I don't know. Can I stand yet? Are they going to let me stand? Okay. All right. So we do try and highlight members throughout the year. I'm going to assume that these were put in order because the staff is fantastic. Have I mentioned how fantastic the staff is? Because they're very good. We do like to highlight members that kind of stuck out through the year. This is an opportunity for us all to get together and maybe goad people into achieving more as we go through the years and hope to get one of our fun awards. So half of these people are not here tonight because they're off either volunteering on something or they were otherwise committed. I do have most volunteer hours for our adult membership is Sam Murray. And he is not here this evening. He does do a lot of freelance work for the sports networks and whatnot. So I believe, I'm not sure, is there a game tonight? Is there a game tonight? Bruce, is there a game tonight? No. So we're all racing home to go to the Bruins game. So Sam Murray had the most volunteer hours for our adult. Quick round of applause for Sam Murray. And we always like to section off our youth. So the most volunteer hours for youth is Nicholas Kissel, who is here this evening. Come on up. All right, so I'm going to present this to you. Come back to me and I'll sign it. And congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Next on the jacket here, Community Spirit Award. I talked about channeling community spirit. All right, so we wanted to highlight this member who has been stalwart in just about everything that was in her interest realm. We're giving this to Linda Burns, who has filmed just about every musical production that the Music Association has put on in the past year. And did you travel?
We did. We just got back from Nashville.
So, and you went down and you filmed
did.
and filmed them when they were in Nashville. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Very much. I have Producer of the Year. I think I stuck, yeah. So Producer of the Year is, we're actually going to give it out to 2 people, and they're not here at the moment, for their tenacious attention to their short film. They've been working on it for over a year. And I believe their sisters, Shannon Hill, and they're off at college, they were off at college, and Amanda Hill. They've been working on this project for a long time, but they had such attention to the production process, whether it was lighting, storyboarding, scripting, the post-production process, going back and reshooting things. You don't get a lot of that in the community media area all the time. So we do want to really reach out to them, give them these awards. They deserve it, and we can't wait to see the final product. Thank you. And I think that's it. And I believe that's it for this evening. Let me just make sure. Yep, San Mario. Excellent. And as far as that, I think that's all I have.
Yeah,
here.
I just want to, as we adjourn, I just wanted to, again, encourage you to begin thinking about helping us about future funding. You've heard Brian's story now, and again, as he puts it, daunting but not impossible. We can do this. We can make this happen. And, you know, there could be a variety of approaches, including town funding. I mean, it's not impossible that the town would want to contribute here to what goes on. It certainly is in their, to their benefit. So just something to be thinking about, and all of you are, many of you are producers or participants in what we do and what we produce here. So be thinking about how we can do this going forward, and we'll just keep doing the same great work we've been doing again. So
one of those possibilities is because it sounded like he was just about to ask you for money when he started that, but not so much that. But you know, as a board of 5, there's only so much that a board of 5 can do. So having a committee that could be geared around fundraising and financing, we're pairing off with 1 or 2 of the board members. That would be a huge help too, because again, we are a staff of 4 full-timers covering the whole town and teaching and doing and whatnot. That type of input and you know, in involvement would be great. I think I have one question or one announcement, I think, from Karen. You wanted to? Yep. You could just talk to the mic. I think she wanted to volunteer.
yeah,
Hi
she
there.
was on the committee.
I just wanted to mention that I have put in the little cubby that we have for a lounge area when you're waiting for someone for any reason. There's a table there, and I saw it last Friday, and I thought, oh, we could use that as a Bread Street nook to honor the memory of the school that was here, which unfortunately was named for Simon Bradstreet, not Anne Bradstreet, but we want to remember Anne. And there will be a book there of her poetry and a little explanation of why she's important to North Andover and the country, because she was the first poet ever to be published from America. So, and she founded the town in the 1600s. So I felt that this would honor her memory in a very small way in the area where she had a family named building for her. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And that's an example of how we want to kind of just keep this a community place. You know, we'd love that, and I know Susan even came up with some ideas about having members come up with ideas for whether it be a mural in one of the walls or you know, designing the lounge. You know, we want the community involved. I'm trying to get the Merrimack Valley Camera Group to hang art, you know, or the Artist Guild, Andover's Artist Guild, to hang art out throughout. When we designed the space, all of a sudden it looked like we didn't have hallways and wall space. But as the walls went up and all the windows went in, we have a lot of little nooks along the whole common space out there where artwork could be hung and switched out. So if anybody has contacts and wants to help me out with that, those are the 2 groups that came to mind. There may be others, but we're again, a community environment that bleeds North Andover. That's what I want. That's what I want.
So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross.
you.